There was a bombshell in the race for the Senate majority in 2026 today. Let me tell you about it and why it matters. Okay, so Michigan Senator Gary Peters is a Democrat. He had served 2 terms, and I think most people expected that he would run for re-election again, even though he's in a swing state. Except he announced Tuesday that he is not running for a 3rd term, which means the seat will be open. And the popular governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, said she's not going to run for that seat. If she had run, it might have made the seat likely to go for Democrats. But as the field is currently set up, you've got a lot of House members, state senators, statewide elected officials, lots and lots of people looking at this race and wondering, maybe I'm the next senator. Now, what does this mean more broadly for the Senate map? Because unless you live in Michigan, you might not follow this all that closely. And here's what it means. So start with the basics. Republicans have a 4-seat Senate majority. It's 53-47, which means in order for Democrats to control the Senate, they would need to pick up 4 seats, because if it was 50-50, J.D. Vance, who's the vice president, but also the head of the Senate, would break ties, obviously, in Republicans' favor. So 4 seats is the number. Now, you look at the map in 2026 and you think, this might be doable. Why? Because there are 20 Republican seats up compared to just 13 Democratic seats. So that seems doable. A lot more vulnerability out there for Republicans than Democrats, at least on a face. And it is just on the face of it, because if you dig a little deeper, what you see is that there simply are not a lot of opportunities for Democrats to pick up seats amid those 20 Republican seats. There are really only, at this point, I would say, 2. You have Susan Collins in Maine, who represents a state that Donald Trump lost in 2024. But Susan Collins has proven over and over again since she was elected in 1996, she knows how to win even when her party loses at the top of the ticket. So yes, she will be a target. Yes, that will be a real race, but it's not easy. The other one is Thom Tillis in North Carolina. North Carolina is a swing state. It's obviously a state Donald Trump won in 2024, but Tillis is in his first term. He might have a challenge from the conservative Trump right. A lot of factors there, but that's 2 out of 20. That's 10% of the seats that are up. And once you get beyond those 2, there's not a lot of good options. There's seats in very Republican states like Idaho and West Virginia and North Dakota and South Dakota and Montana and Louisiana and Kentucky, right? So Democrats are very, very unlikely to win those. Now, flip it, right? So 2 out of the 20 Republican-held seats are, I think, potentially competitive. Flip it to the Democratic side. So as I said, there are 13 Democratic seats. The first one now is Michigan's open seat. That is going to be an absolute battle royale. Tens of millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars will be spent on that race just so that Democrats can keep it in their column, right? That's not counting the 4 they need to pick up. If they lose that seat, they need to pick up 5. So that's not even counting the 4. So Michigan is now number 1 on that list and is going to cost more and be more difficult to hold today than it was a week ago when we thought Gary Peters was running for re-election. Then go to Georgia, where Jon Ossoff is in his first term. He represents a state that Donald Trump won. He is going to be a huge target, particularly if Republicans can convince popular outgoing governor Brian Kemp to run for the Senate. And there's active discussions about that underway. Tim Scott, who heads the sort of recruiting committee for National Senate Republicans, is trying to convince Kemp. Kemp may want to run for president in 2028. So a lot going on there. But if Kemp is in that race, he's probably a favorite over Ossoff. So that's 2. And then we get into places like New Hampshire. Now, Kamala Harris won New Hampshire, but not overwhelmingly. Minnesota, where Tina Smith is up for re-election. Not a state we really think that much about on the competitive scale, but a state that has gotten more and more friendly to Republicans. Maybe that's a race. Is the Virginia Senate race, where Mark Warner we expect to run for another term, is that a place where Republicans might be competitive? If Warner retires for whatever reason, then that's a really competitive state. So now you're getting into 3, 4, 5 Democratic seats out of 13 that could potentially be competitive compared to just 2 out of 20 for Republicans. And that's sort of the issue, I think, with Michigan. I think what Democrats hoped in Michigan was that Peters ran again and that Republicans were not able to field the top tier candidate. And that, yes, because it's a swing state, the race would be somewhat close, but Peters would raise lots of money on his own and Democrats would be able to spend money on other priorities, helping Ossoff try to win, but also going on offense. Right? In a Maine, in a North Carolina, maybe even in an Iowa against Joni Ernst. Well, that's going to be a lot harder. Michigan's a big, expensive state, and they Democrats are going to pour millions and millions and millions of dollars into it, almost no matter who the two nominees are at this point. And what that means is that's less money that can be used to play offense, that can be used for Democrats to go on offense against those 20 Republican seats. So, I think when you look at the Senate 2026 map, and I will say, look, it's early, right? It's early 2025. So drawing conclusions about what the map will look like in November 2026, take it with a grain of salt. But I would say right now, Democrats probably had a 15% chance, maybe 20% chance, a fighter's chance of taking back the Senate with a very good national year in 2026. I would say that's down about 10, maybe 5% with Michigan, because Michigan is just going to be an absolute money pit. They're going to throw tons of money into it just to hold that seat. And they may not even be able to hold it. Reminder, Donald Trump won it in 2016 and 2024. Democrats narrowly won an open Senate seat in Michigan in 2024. Alyssa Slotkin, the congresswoman, won and became a senator, but it was extremely close. So that's going to be a toss-up race either way. And I just think this is an early blow to Senate Democrats, who obviously hope to keep Peters in the fold, to keep him running for another term and making it more likely that they would be able to therefore hold that seat going forward. And, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it's going to be a very costly proposition. So I really do think right now you have a very small chance of Democrats retaking the Senate majority, which means Republicans will likely be in control of the White House and the Senate at a minimum all the way through Donald Trump's 4 years in office. And we know that means Supreme Court justices potentially, but obviously also federal justices below the Supreme Court level. And Donald Trump will be able to appoint, and the Senate majority will be able to approve and confirm lots and lots of those judges. And that is a huge influence. Obviously, those people are in for lifetime appointments, a huge thing going forward, not to mention the fact that future cabinet appointments that Donald Trump makes are more likely to get through with a Republican-controlled Senate all the way through his 4 years. Okay, I am, as you can see, I'm at NBC. I'm about to do some TV. But I wanted to get this video in. I'm always making a video. So thank you for checking this out. You can do 4 things for me. You can subscribe to this channel. It's easy. Hit subscribe. You can like this video. Just give it the thumbs up. You can comment on this video. Do it for the algorithm. And you can tell your friends, 10 ideally, about this channel and tell them that they have to subscribe. All right, everybody. Take care.